Check this out.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Countdown is go at T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. Here's your host, Tim Scott.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is the Gateway to the Magic today. It's a little bit late, but this is the November edition of the DVC Roundtable. Joining us on the show is Miss Emily Hansa Hicks.
Well, hello everyone.
Oh, hello. And of course, the Holy One, Mr. Brad Coates.
We just had a discussion off air, and I'm not sure I'm still as holy as I was.
Right. Exactly.
But, hey, everybody. I'm so glad you're all here to help make my day better.
And Rebecca Toon may be joining us later, we're hoping. And unfortunately, Joe Quattrochi can't make it, but we'll have him on a future show, without a doubt.
The original Super Looper. We can't move on without him.
No, we cannot. But today's show is going to be with our listener Nick. Nick sent us some questions, and he was hoping the roundtable could answer them. You guys are you set up for the challenge?
Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go, guys.
I've got a glass of tequila here to represent Becca until she gets here.
Oh, thank goodness. All right, here's Nick. He goes, hello, Resort Loop team. I was wondering if there would be a chance to get some help from the DVC Roundtable on a decision that my wife and I are struggling with. Ooh. We're like marriage counselors as well. He goes, thank you so much for your advice. Around 2017, we have you all to thank and or blame for taking the plunge into the DVC. They bought their first contract direct from Disney for the Poly, a little Polynesian action. He says, we absolutely love being DVC members, but now that our family has grown to 5 in total, that's the awkward number for Disney vacations, we all know. We are now outgrowing our points at the Poly and planning on looking forward to expanding in the next year or so. One of our questions we are thinking about is getting another contract, this time resale, but at a different resort. It looks like they're maybe thinking of the Bay Lake Boardwalk or the Beach Club, but they're struggling with the final home destination. It says they love the Bay Lake Tower, but they already own the Poly. Resort being one monorail stop away might not sound like the best investment to them. He says this is where it gets tricky. They just got back from a trip at the Polynesian. They took the monorail to the Contemporary, and when they got off of the monorail, the wife and him looked at each other longingly into each other's eyes and said they want to be there. What are your thoughts on buying into a resort that was only one monorail stop away from your other DVC resort?
So here's my thoughts. And I thought about this just very recently because I saw that the most recent incentives for DVC actually included boardwalk points. And I was blown away by that. It said, I think it was Aulani, and it was, Riviera and boardwalk. And I was like, boardwalk? What in the world? Here is the thing. Ultimately, length of contract and dues are really what I look at when I think about it. Because I've told my friends this when they're considering boardwalk, I have always been able to get a garden pool view room at boardwalk. No matter the season, if I have a little patience, it'll always come through on a wait list. I have never been locked out of it. In fact, we moved our vacation that we were hoping our kids would be fully vaccinated by October. We moved it from October to November. Then we moved it from November to December. Now we're looking at, we're really going to Disney World this time, I swear. And we're going to be at Boardwalk. And was it, that was with 60 days notice, and days keep popping in anytime I put a wait list in. You have to wait a couple days maybe. But so I wouldn't buy a Boardwalk just to buy a Boardwalk because I think you can get a room at Boardwalk. I would buy, and maybe you would want a contract length if you want to get rid of it sooner. Like if you don't think this is going to be a long-term thing, and maybe when your kids are older, you're not going to go as much. But frankly, I mean, you're looking at a bunch of grown-ups that go all the time and would go more if they could. So I would go for length of the contract, and then I would compare the dues. And I don't have the data in my head right now, but which dues sort of have graduated at the lowest rate out of all three of those. Beach Club, you can actually get Beach Club pretty easily. Not maybe pretty easily, but Beach Club, if you travel off times, you can get Beach Club. But I agree ultimately with, and Tim said it too, Poly is not, and Copper Creek. Those are the two awkward ones, really, for a group of 5, because we're a family of 5.
Mhm.
And we are actually, you can stay in the studio, but it's really tiny, and my husband will yell at us if we book him. So the 1 bedrooms are really where it's at when they're young, and probably will move into 2s fairly soon. So I would say I would make the decision based on price, honestly, in this weird case. And I would probably go Bay Lake because I think it's got the longest contract of the 3 Bs.
Okay, so you wouldn't have any problem
How about
staying
you?
at Bay Lake with your other resort being the Polynesian, right next to each other, basically.
I don't think so. And also, we have Grand Floridian, Saratoga. We haven't stayed at Saratoga. Not that we don't want to, but we haven't stayed at Saratoga since before we bought our points. And we've stayed at Grand Floridian maybe 2, 3 times. And we've stayed at Boardwalk more than anything else. And we don't have any points there. And we've stayed at Bay Lake. We've stayed all over. And I've never, if I'm willing to look at the reservations and refresh a couple of times, I'm usually able to find what we need, especially at about the 30-day mark when rooms turn over.
Okay.
How about you, Brad? What do you think?
Yeah.
So, and honestly, this is a tough question because it's kind of a loaded question. If you've done your pricing and if you get the contract length you want, if you get the region you want, you're not going to make a mistake. So as long as you're going to use it, that's the number 1 rule. You're going to use what you buy. So if what you're thinking is, okay, my kids are getting older, Magic Kingdom isn't the thing, and we just detest the buses, well, then you might want to be thinking about it. And this is going to maybe be strange because I've usually not said this, but if you're the type you're going to buy this contract, you're going to wear it out, you're going to give it to your kids. Maybe you buy Riviera because now you have access to the Skyliner. It's a beautiful resort. It's a gorgeous resort, great location. And it's tough to get into unless you own it there. And then the bus ride to Animal Kingdom is a shorter one, and you're a little bit more out of that loop. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with buying 1 stop away if that's where you like to stay. And based on what you're describing, we love the Magic Kingdom first. If you think that's going to stay the same, then it's a win. You hate the buses, so you've knocked out 2 of the parks automatically with the monorail, as long as it's running.
True.
Which is sometimes an issue. So you've knocked that out. And it's a great resort. Oh my goodness. That theme park view is going to spoil you for life. It's awesome from Bay Lake Tower. So I don't think it's a bad choice, but if you're looking to try to diversify, there are some other choices out there. Yeah, I'm a huge Animal Kingdom guy, but it doesn't sound like for you because just for the one phrase, we don't want the buses. Well, then Animal Kingdom, as wonderful as it is, you got to just be able to live with the buses because that's all you have,
right?
Except for your own car, and I hate that more personally. I don't. Some people love it. To drive to the park and then have to park and then have to shuttle over and then, I'll put up with a 30-minute bus ride before I went on vacation to get away from driving and doing all that stuff. So, maybe coming back with the change with transportation. But anyway, so I don't think it's a bad choice, but there are some other choices that you could consider. It all depends upon how are you going to keep this. Do you think your kids are going to want to diversify? They're going to be different places, and price point, length of the contract. So. I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to drag it on. Let me mention one more thing. While you were talking, Emily, I was thinking about. I just got a notification just recently from one of the DVC places where I'm on the bulletin thing. Anyway, their newsletter. Disney's really stepped up their buyback program. Buyback by Disney from resale contracts is running higher than contracts they let go get past them. That means you're going to start seeing if you're looking to buy from Disney, the good news is they're starting to pull in a lot of points because they really want for you to start buying from them again. And so, you can still do it both ways, but they're buying back a lot of the contracts, which means they'll have a lot of availability for resorts. So
That is fascinating and explains the boardwalk thing.
Yeah, it very well could be exactly what they're doing. They decided, and they'll do that. They'll pick a resort and they'll go, okay, we're going to focus on that one because we're low in inventory. Let's get that inventory up, and they'll just start buying back every contract.
Wow.
Several months, and then they'll just kind of slow it down. But right now they're buying back. So what that means is the curve is coming, and as the curve comes, you're going to see a lot more Disney owned resale contracts. So,
man, I feel like we could do an entire episode about that because I have so many thoughts about that. But really quickly, that is, first of all, so smart of them, and then second of all, as a DVC owner, I think Joe and I have talked about this before, but I've always said the reason that Disney is not like, say, I don't even want to name names, but other timeshares that, sell for $1 on eBay. The reason that you can kind of, I don't want to say count on it because it's not an investment. Don't take this as investment advice. The reason you can say it's probably not going to ever go to zero or be worthless, except maybe it's last year. And even then you should get one vacation out of it, right?
It went up.
Right.
Still went up.
It's insane. It keeps going up in value. But the reason is because they create a floor by buying contracts back. As an owner, there is a competitive floor with Disney. And so, your contract ideally will hopefully never go below a certain point. So you can kind of, if you have to get out at year 20, then it's not going to be sell it at, I hope, I don't know this, but it won't likely be sell it for $1 on eBay. No promises, but it sure looks like the people that bought.
Yeah, there'd have to be a big change. Exactly. Because as long as Disney's buying back the points, they're going to keep the price up because then if they buy it and then try to resell it up here, way up high, then the resale contracts that are doing independent, they're going to try to get the most out of theirs, and they will because Disney's this high. So as long as Disney's buying back and keeping the rates up high, they'll always keep that value inflated as long and if there's one thing we should have all learned, anybody out there that loves Disney, if you're just getting into it, we'll give you a heads up. You may hate them. You may get sick and tired of them like I am right now. Dining and just link my pass. It took me 7 hours today to book no dining and get one pass connected. We keep coming back. Right.
Exactly right.
We got to pay for Genie Plus now. There is no more free passes. No more Magical Express. Boy, I'm sick of you guys. Here's my money.
So mad. Here's my 15 times 5. And Brad, I agree about Riviera. In fact, I think my new philosophy on this, if we add on points, I think I'm just always going to add on the newest resort. Because I feel like if you're willing to do the work, you can always find the reservation you need, especially if you're flexible and you don't you're not, I have to stay at this place every time. And the Riviera is beautiful. In fact, we were kind of bummed. We were thinking about staying there this trip and trying to squeeze it in, but it is a lot more points. But if you buy Riviera points and it's a brand new resort and the maintenance fees aren't going to go up astronomically because things aren't breaking yet, you got a good length of time in that contract. You don't have to worry about it. Are they or aren't they going to re-up the contract? Like some of the older resorts.
Yep.
And
the only challenge there you really have to pay attention to is, are you going into this with the mindset of I'm really going to only own it for my life cycle?
Right.
I'm going to own it for my cycle at the parks, which for a lot of people is, I forget what they say, the average that people sell their DVC, which is ridiculous. I'm like, really? They sell that fast? I just don't learn because I'm going on 15 years now for the first contract, and I'm not selling it, but I'm still going. So, but yeah, that's the thing. If you do think you're going to cycle, you're going to look to move that contract. Don't take the chance with Riviera because it is a limited. It's going to be more limited for resale. Then maybe you consider not doing it. But as long as you think you're going to keep it and you think you'll hand it to the kids, then where's the downside to Riviera? It really isn't. It's a fantastic resort. It's got a great location. It's got access to my favorite transportation, which is the Skyliner. Maybe one day monorail there. Yeah, maybe not.
That's access. But you're right. That's access to 2 parks. And
they've been talking at the beginning that they considering, and it's not out of the picture yet, a Skyliner to Animal Kingdom. If they did that, now you'd knock out 3 parks on the Skyliner, or they go to buses if they're down. So anyway,
Don't knock. I know you think we've killed it, but I'm going to really just beat that dead horse.
kill it some more. Kick it, revive it, and kill it again.
Right. If you are going resale, don't kick Grand Floridian out of the picture, because even if you never stay there, it is a newer resort and the points are very in demand.
You get more out of them when you rent them out.
Right. And and Saratoga, we bought Saratoga because of the low dues and the great value that it represented. But it turns out now, when I'm doing the math, Grand Floridian, I mean, we just got our due statements that I can't remember again offhand, but the dues are so much, like they went up so much less for Grand Floridian, again, because it's new and it's in good shape. And, you know, and that's a place with a concierge, like Bay Lake Tower. It has a desk. So consider that too when you're thinking about where you're going to stay. Do you like that, like, isolated concierge like experience that you can get at Boulder Ridge and Grand Floridian, and let's see, Bay Lake Tower has them, Riviera, of course, because it's all DVC. But basically that some of these, like Boardwalk, they have a concierge, but it's shared. It's like you're a hotel guest when you go to it. And then and the same thing is true with Beach Club. You're just kind of like, you're in the DVC wing, but if you're going to Boulder Ridge or if you're going to Grand Floridian, they have concierge desks in those buildings that are just for the DVC guests. And there is something special about that, and having your own DVC specialist concierge, you know?
Is Grand Floridian getting a new building, DVC building?
Oh yeah, they're getting a wing. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're expanding. Realized I was reading his deal and I was talking about their dislike of the buses, and you hadn't read that yet.
I didn't. I was just going to bring up.
Mind reader.
You are. So I'll just get back to his thing, which we already touched on. He said the big decisions to select a resort is the proximity to the parks. He goes on to say their favorite is the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. So we already touched on that, really, with the monorail being your best choice, as long as it's running, as Brad said. They like to avoid the bus, just like Brad. They have not been able to stay at the Beach Club, despite their wait listing. But they have been to the Boardwalk, and he said it was just kind of too inconvenient for him. I wonder if last time they stayed there, maybe it was before the Skyliner. I wonder if that's one of the reasons, like, Disney's buying back Boardwalk. Maybe there's a little resurgence in the Boardwalk because of that. What do you think?
Most likely the reason it's inconvenient, quote unquote, is that it does feel like more of a walk when you have to go to Epcot. It's like, okay, am I there yet? You know, Beach Club, it's like you literally walk out your wing and then throw a rock and hit the gate.
Yeah, take a left.
So you haven't done Beach Club yet. So I highly recommend you figure out a way to at least do a split stay, figure out to stay there a day too before you make a decision. If you can, stay there, because you may fall in love with that resort. Because you'll still be on the monorail. You won't be on the monorail from Beach Club, but you'll be walking distance and the Skyliner from two parts, and that's Epcot. But the other thing I was going to say, Emily, was when you've stayed at Boardwalk, you mentioned Garden View. It's really critical which view you buy there, and it's not about the view; it's about how far away. They're big, long wings, and then as the wings of the DVC rooms go, you're getting farther from Epcot. So
like Louisiana Purchase far. Yeah,
it's like the Animal Kingdom. You feel like you're wore out and you've had a day's worth before you get back to the lobby.
Right.
Before you can go on the boardwalk. So, yeah. So it may just have been they've been getting stuck a long ways out, so they had a long walk to get to anything. Because even doing the Skyliner, think about it, from Boardwalk, it's the same distance to get to the Skyliners to get to Epcot.
Right.
Because that's where the new gate is for the Skyliner. For those of you that don't know, right next to the International Gateway. So it's a little bit of a hike, but it's also a great possibility to just walk over to. And it's a little bit of a hike to Disney Studios. What do you think, Emily?
Keeps you off the buses, though.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it does. And I was going to say, the cool thing about both Bay Lake Tower and Polynesian that is, if that monorail is down, you can walk to the park, And the same thing is true of Beach Club and Boardwalk. And that is something you can't get with Riviera, the walkability.
Correct.
And when our kids got a little older, that stroller ability specifically was key because, it's a pain in the butt to put your stroller away, get on the bus, get off, I can see exactly why this guy wants to avoid the buses.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are much more comfortable getting on the buses because our kids are like, sure, jump on,
Yeah.
But interestingly, the worst rooms, if you will, the worst views at Boardwalk, the standard rooms are usually the first to go because they're such a good point value. So
Yeah.
Boardwalk is like your hidden secret for really wanting to, other than like an Animal Kingdom value room, these are some of the cheapest rooms on property for points.
Yep.
And the standard rooms, you can't even get them. Like I cannot get a standard room at Boardwalk because they go so
But
fast.
you own
And
there.
why would
You got to own there. You got to be able to get it around the 11 month. Yeah.
right? And those are the ones, to your point, they're like Animal Kingdom and Boardwalk. Those value rooms fill up so quickly. Those standard rooms fill up so quickly, but those garden rooms and the pool view garden rooms, there are so many of them. The reason Boardwalk is so great to waitlist. The biggest category of room are the garden and pool rooms. And so if you're going to waitlist at Boardwalk, you'll waitlist garden and pool, and I'm telling you, it will come available.
Yeah.
And the point value is the same, I think, for the Boardwalk rooms. So Boardwalk View or garden pool, they both end up costing you the same. So people are either getting a standard room or they really want those Boardwalk rooms. So if you can handle looking at a pool or a canal or a garden, then you're going to get a room at Boardwalk and it's going to be a decent value for your points. So, I think that's the thing with Boardwalk. I think that's probably why they're focusing. There's so much inventory there. And I hope that I did not just totally blow that question because I feel like I just focused on that aspect.
Oh, no,
but that is really true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say he asked this question. We want to touch on this, but let's talk about this a little bit more. He's entertaining the idea of he wants to entertain the idea of either adding on to his current contract, or he's not sure if they should buy into another resort for another 11-month window.
To me, it's always wise to buy a second contract from somewhere else. It just creates more opportunities, more variety. Just make sure you get the same use year so you don't run into problems using your points. When you book at the 7-month window and you want to combine your points, the only value to buying into the same contract is, number one, that's the resort we want to stay at, and we'll put up with another one, but we really want to go there every time. That's our favorite. And we want to stay there for long, extended times, do a grand villa. We want all of our points to be able to book at the 11-month window. If you're not worried about that, I say two contracts, create a second opportunity, more variety, and I think you'll like it more.
Very nice.
I think I misunderstood the question initially. I thought it was about use year, and I would say for sure go with the same use year. Period. Do not even think about it. Do not pass go. It's already going to be complicated enough if you pick another place. But I agree with Brad with the caveat that don't buy less points at the second resort than you could book your typical trip with. So at least with banking and borrowing. So
it's a very good.
Yep. Yeah. So like if you're going to buy 50, unless you're going to always stay in studios, don't just buy 50. If you're going to buy 50, add on. If you're going to buy, like we have 160.
Absolutely don't buy anywhere except for two resorts if you're doing a small contract, Boardwalk or Animal Kingdom. Because you can get rooms so cheap that you can actually do a 4-day stay. I've done a 4-day stay on my 50-point contract for Animal Kingdom.
Wow.
That is true.
Usually I combine them, save the year. But that's a good point. If you're buying a small contract to just expand a little bit, that's another caveat to buying at the same resort. That's a very good observation.
Otherwise, you end up like I have in certain cases where you have like, say, 50 points at Grand, and you can't use those to book at the 11-month window on the larger contract where, say, you're staying at Beach Club or not Beach Club. Say you're trying to book a room at Saratoga and you have 160 points at Saratoga, but you need 250. Well, you can't just add those Grand Floridian points that you have to the Saratoga batch and book at the 11-month window. So then I have to get fancy and say, well, what are the days most likely to go first? So I book, say, the weekend with the Saratoga points and then add in the remainder of the weekdays at the 7-month window with the Grand points. But trust me, you don't want to do that. It's stressful. So.
Yeah, then you're stuck to doing 7-month trips, not 11-month bookings. You just,
Right.
Or doing what I do, that's when you learn the art of split stays.
Oh, we should do a show on that, Brad.
Yes.
We should.
That was
In fact,
so good.
I'm sending you a
So
signal
timely.
now. It's already in the can.
I got some good feedback on that show. People love the split
Did you?
stays.
Good.
Yes.
Well, that's why Raphael called me. But anyway, that was a topic.
They're adorable.
Yeah, they heard the show. So.
Love them.
You guys.
Yeah. So, all right.
Since we want to talk about this, I want to talk about this real quick in case Nick's not aware of, because he was talking about buying resale, and we did bring up Riviera. I think, could somebody explain the resale restrictions just so he knows what he's getting into if he's going to consider Riviera as one of his new resorts?
It's pretty simple. With that brand new resort, they started to do something different, which is to try to keep from the resale market and gathering up all of the contracts once people decide to get rid of them. When you own at Riviera, you can book into any resort, just like any of the legacy resorts. You can book at your 11-month window for your resort, 7-month for all other resorts. But when you resell that contract, I believe if you resell it back to Disney, they'll do with it what they've done with all the other contracts, which is then they take a resale contract and they give it the value back in. You can get your blue card, and you could still use it at every resort. But if you sell it in the resale market, then you cannot use those points for the legacy, the original resorts. And so you can only stay on points at the Riviera Resort from that day forward. So the caveat is it makes it sound like it'll be tougher to sell it on the resale market because it'll be a much more narrow window. It'll have to be somebody that only wants to stay at Riviera. That's the way that I understand it.
If Disney really does pick up their purchases of resales, it is quite possible that, again, with that floor, the resale floor rises and falls with the price of the Disney direct contracts. Which, by the way, I completely, from the perspective of an owner, it's such a good deal for everyone. It keeps it artificially or actually inflates the value of all of them. So if they do that, you have less to worry about buying a Riviera contract because the floor will stay higher, because if they're selling those properties high because there is a good market for them, then the resale value is only going to be so much lower. And let's be frank, Riviera is a beautiful hotel. We stayed there. It was gorgeous. My kids would just love to go back. And it's not even like necessarily a kid hotel. I would love to go back. If they keep it as beautifully maintained and everything that it is now, with as much to do, and they have that Skyliner access, there's just, I can't see not wanting to stay there, even if my points were locked in there and I had to bank and borrow and stay there every 3 years. Like, ooh, sad me. So
exactly.
Yeah, but those are the restrictions. You hit the restrictions accurately.
Now, Nick asked us one question I almost didn't catch here. He wants to talk about the size of a contract. What do you think he would need? Because he's looking at his family of 5 and said they're going to need at least a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. He knows it will kind of depend on the resort. Do you have kind of like a total number of points he should maybe have? He didn't really talk about how long his vacation trips are, so I don't know if we want to assume maybe he's going for 5 days and he can adjust from there.
Did he say how many points he has now or no?
I don't believe he did.
No, I didn't see it anywhere.
Let's say he goes for once a year. I will say that this is hard to say without knowing what time of year he goes and how long the trips are, or how many times. But what I'll do is I can tell you I have a family of 5 with young kids, and although they're getting older every day, I can tell you that we have moved up all the way to, we have 160 points at Saratoga, and I want to say we now have 270 points at Grand Floridian. And guess what? I still cut into next year's budget. So, and we haven't gone in 2 years. So, but what happened is we invited friends last time we went. So, I would say that if you have 100, let's just estimate that he has 160 points, like the entry level kind of old contract. I think, 270 is a good amount if it's just you guys and you're going to go either off season 2 weeks or in season 1 week. And then of course it does depend on what resort you're going to stay at. So I think for 5 people, you're definitely looking at least a 1-bedroom in any resort that has a 1-bedroom to be a comfortable stay. And then as the kids get older, you can wait for that to happen as the kids get older, and then you could get a 2-bedroom if you feel the need to move into a 2-bedroom. Mm-hmm. But I would say 270 is a comfortable amount if you're going to go, peak season 1 week a year, or 2 weeks off season, or like a sequence of weekends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think, Brad?
Here's the challenge. The good news is that, Nick, you already own, so you have access to the DVC site. Go to the DVC site, pull up your point charts. Pull up the resort you're wanting to look at. So, for example, I just pulled up Beach Club Villas. Now, they're known to be a little bit higher. They're not as high as Riviera and Grand Floridian, but they're a little bit higher, okay? And then just compare. If you're a 5-day person, if you look at the weekly, you can reduce the number a little bit. But let me give you an example. So travel period, the cheapest for Disney Beach Club Villas for a 1-bedroom villa. No, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot. With Beach Club, you may want to reconsider Beach Club because I forgot they don't do 5 without doing a 2-bedroom.
Oh, there you go.
They were doing 5. It's just that you had to get I thought they do 5 now. Am I wrong?
The points charge for 2022 is saying sleeps up to 4. So, but I'm sure it's coming because they're doing it in every other resort. So, but
putting the fold down bed.
Well, I'm just going to use it as a point of reference.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Still pay attention; it'll fit your family. But for a 1-bedroom villa, for 7-day stay, a week-long stay, in the lowest season, $192.
Okay.
And then for up until the top 2 tiers, it's $265. That's spring break. So that one's like 2 tiers from the very top. So I would do that. I would look at, unless you're going to go holidays, don't worry about the holodays because you're usually not going to go. What most people do is they don't stay as many days because it just gets so many points. It gets expensive. But I would look at the lowest and then, up to the top, look at the 2 sets of numbers and figure out from there. Because keep in mind, if you're like Emily and you're able to go more than once, but if you've got 2 contracts at 2 different places and you're only going once a year, then you're going to end up, if you want to have enough points where you completely can go to that resort just on your points, then you'd have to buy 270. But I think you could get in there for less and bank them one place for 2 years. Then I go that one, and then bank the other one, and I can go to that one and so because you're not going to use your points every year at one resort, you're going to be using your points at that resort every other year if you really only go once a year, if that makes sense. So I think you could do it for less, but you definitely do not want to buy a contract with a family of 5 looking at 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms. I promise you can go for the point charts. You're not going to want to get less than 125, 150 for a second contract. You're just not, even if you're going to bank it. Because then you're, for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, you're going to limit which resorts you can pull it off in. So,
you almost want to double whatever your initial contract was, because you want to be able to stay at either of those 2 resorts. You don't want to have to patchwork it like I do all the time.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up here, any final things we need to recommend to Nick?
Hurry up, go get another contract. Fun.
Do it fast before
Tell us when you're going to be there.
Nick, you got to let us know what you end up doing. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, really.
Have you on the show. Like to hear your reasoning and see if we were able to help you at all. Guys, thanks so very much for joining me on the show. I love it.
You bet.
Always a blast.
Always our pleasure.
Brad, if somebody's looking to talk to you, where can they find you?
This worked the last time. We answered questions for a young couple getting married, and then they reached out and asked a bunch more questions. And I was just telling everybody, shout out to Raphael and Andrea. Oh. They're having a Disney wedding in February, and I'm actually going to be there at the same time. So I got an invite to the wedding. So because we answered their questions. So woohoo! So Nick, hey. You're going to be there when we're there. Let us know. But reach out to papamouse101@hotmail.com. I'm most easily found there. You can find me on Messenger, on Facebook, and I'm at Family Fun Travels by Brad on Facebook, and you can find me there. Those are the 2 best places. And of course, I'm always trolling in Resort Loop Live.
There you go.
Checking out the cool questions that are asked by our wonderful guests like you, Nick.
Awesome. Emily, where can somebody find you if they want to talk to you?
They can find me on Looper Nation Live, and they can find me hanging out with the fine fellas here at the Roundtable. And yes, and I can't even remember what my Twitter handle is, so I won't even say that right now. DisneyLounging.com, and maybe someday I'll update that, or first comes WDW. I promise my life is getting a little bit more sane nowadays. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to sort of like re-engage with all the things I love. And then shout out, I don't know if they'll listen, but shout out to Debbie and Barb, who I just told about this great podcast. So I don't know if they'll listen, but it would be fun if they did. And if they do, you guys have to tell me if you hear this. And then, of course, Jeremy. So I really appreciate who we actually had on the Roundtable before. So, yep, you can find me kind of in those places, and on Facebook. That's pretty much it.
Come on, Debbie and Barb.
And Disney. Yeah, and Disney. Finally in Disney. This.
Yeah, you finally get to go back. Woohoo!
Yeah, end of December, beginning of January. My kids are going to be fully vaccinated, and my husband and I are boosted, and we are, come hell or high water. Hopefully not hell or high water. We plan.
It's Florida.
I'm not above
high water.
Another Disney trip. But, you can find us in hopefully Disney World, and then on the Galactic Star Cruiser, and then on the Disney Wish, and hopefully some of these trips. Hopefully, like at least 50% of these trips will happen.
But I hope the Star Cruiser one comes because we want to hear about it on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Oh,
so excited.
Awesome. And of course, I'm Tim Scott. Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. If you want to book a trip, you can check us out at ResortLoopTravel.com. And if you want to move down there, check out our good friend, Victor Naraki at Disney at Your Doorstep. He'll be happy to help you out. Once again, I'm Tim Scott. You've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. Do it.
Do-do-do.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.